I wanted to see how far I could take Minecraft SkyBlock in just 7 days, and I completely destroyed it, getting things like villagers, infinite iron and gold, maxed out netherite armor, a full diamond beacon, and so much more. How did I do all of these impossible things in just under a week? Well, it all starts with day 1. So, we spawn on the SkyBlock island, surrounded by nothing but void. The first thing we do is open a chest, where we find lava, ice, and a map that tells us how to craft a cobblestone generator, for those of us who have never played Minecraft before. We also get a book, but we chuck that straight into the void as we don't need it. The whole point of SkyBlock is to conserve resources, so we decide to take some time and we get the remainder of the wood. Now, we did leave a layer of dirt at the bottom of the island, but that was for the cobblestone generator, as we needed the water and the lava to flow and make cobblestone. So using the first wood in the world, we make a wooden pickaxe, which we use to mine some stone and make a stone pickaxe. Now, this is painfully slow, but don't worry, because it gets a lot better quickly. So I start mining some cobblestone, placing a slab over the lava to stop some of it from burning, and slowly replacing the island so that I can conserve the dirt. However, this does take a while, and I end up losing some dirt in the process. So the island was now completely stone, and the next step was to get more stone to bridge towards the other island. So we do end up making it to the second island, but we run into a problem that is a creeper, and I had the ingenious idea to place a block and let it get closer. The hope was that I could knock it into the void, but it just ended up exploding, destroying some sugarcane in the process, which meant I no longer had access to any sugarcane, and I had to restart from scratch. So we kind of just start from the beginning, doing everything we did in the last world, safely making it to the island this time and making sure to grab the sugarcane. The second chest gave us melon and pumpkin seeds, and searching the island even more gave us some iron ore. Now, I didn't know it at the time, but this one iron ore eventually led me to completely break SkyBlock and get infinite iron. So I made a furnace and smelted some iron. In the meantime, while I waited, I collected sand just in case I needed it in the future. I also took some time and made sure to make the platform wider so that it was safer for the future. I also made a platform for tree farming. I wanted its own little area so that saplings would drop onto the floor and not get in the way. I didn't have that much cobblestone, however, so I decided to spend some time getting a decent amount. Then I got a nice layout for the farm and almost finished it that night. I finished it in the morning, as well as some quality of life and safety features. I know it doesn't really look like it right now, but one thing I want with this world is for it to look nice and stand out, which I feel like we do eventually accomplish. No time to mess around though, as we need to finally enter the Nether, which we do, where we now have access to other islands, but most importantly, a shop. Here we can buy things such as iron, diamonds, spawners, but one of the most interesting things to me was gold, as we could use this to cure zombie villagers if we could get the potions. So trying to get potions was the plan, but for now we stole some of his stuff and we headed home, where this happened. I don't even know what to say. I wasn't sure what caused this death, but I made the back of the platform wider and underneath more safe, just to make sure. But I got my first tree on the tree platform, so I mined it down and I made sure to grab any saplings along the way so I could expand the farm. Now, there wasn't really much I could do without exploring some of the other islands, so I made sure to grab some blocks and I headed to the Nether and started bridging to explore what I could. So I made it to the first island, where I found a diamond, some cobwebs, and another bucket. This may not seem like much, but this was actually really good. With 2 buckets, I could now have infinite water and make a big enough water pool where I could fish, giving me access to a wide loot table. We fished for a bit, but the only noticeable gear we got was a decent fishing rod and a book which had feather falling or infinity. So using the fish that we got from this, I went to the Nether and I traded for some gold, which I turned into a golden apple. This was pretty good for curing villagers in the future, but now I just needed to do the other part, which was the potions, which is impossible, but I do have a plan. So you're not supposed to be able to get potions in SkyBlock, but we need potions to cure zombie villagers, specifically weakness potions. But I did find something that I feel like the developers slightly overlooked. But first we need a mob grinder, especially also for zombie villagers. But before we get started on that, I took a slight detour to the shop where I saw 32 stripped logs could buy you a sapling chest. So I stripped my logs, I went back and I bought it. The process behind this was I was thinking I could get better saplings like jungle, which would give me bigger trees which I could get even more logs from for things like diamond tools. So I put in some spruce and jungle trees into my already existing farm just as a temporary solution until I built their own platforms. I did have a good chunk of cobblestone, so I made some progress on the mob grinder. However, I was doing it from memory, so I did get things wrong occasionally. But I was also waiting for trees to grow so I could mine as many logs as possible. You see, I need cobblestone for everything, but stone pickaxes are just so damn slow. So I wanted to get diamonds, which the shop offered. But you need a stack of charcoal, which means I need a stack of logs, so I started construction on a second platform where I could grow jungle trees. Now at the time I didn't know how much charcoal it was to buy diamonds, so I grabbed what I had, headed to the Nether, and accidentally bought the wrong thing, sending me back 48 charcoal. I went home defeated, but using the accidental grass I bought, I set up a little area that I can spread grass and hopefully get things spawning like animals, or I could in the future bone meal it and get crops. Anyway, I finished the extra tree platform and placed down some jungle trees, and while I waited for them to grow, I done some extra things to pass the time, like placing an obsidian behind the cobblestone generator so that I could just hold down the trigger and not worry about breaking the platform. I used this obsidian trick to grab some more cobblestone, as I thought it was finally time to explore some of the other islands and the other loot, like this chest which gave me obsidian. There was really no point for that, was there? I kept searching and I found another portal which I needed to light. I didn't have anything to light it, so I thought I could use the gold I earned to trade with piglins, as they can give you fire charges. So I trade with them and I die. So I take my mind off of that by bone mealing some grass and getting some wheat, which I can eventually turn into a farm. But for now, this will have to do. But in the distance, I saw that my jungle tree had grown. So, using a stone axe, I spent ages mining down this tree. You know, I really hope that I never have to mine another jungle tree ever again. So we now had enough logs, we just needed to turn it into charcoal, which took charcoal. But while we were waiting, we came across a wandering villager who in the future is going to really help us get some unobtainable items through villager trading. But for now, we kill him. So we have now finally collected enough charcoal to buy 5 diamonds. And using that and the 1 diamond that we found earlier, we make a diamond pickaxe and a diamond axe, allowing us to get cobblestone and wood so much faster. But while mining down some of the trees, I found a big oak tree, which I hate. So I decided to spend some time putting a roof over the oak trees so that none of the large ones could grow. I really wanted some dirt, but I didn't want to spend ages mining down trees so that I could buy them. But I had an idea. I went back to the Nether and I relit the portal that we didn't light earlier using some lava and wood and waiting for it to light by itself. And then we headed through where we found the new island and we just took a bunch of the dirt. Now that dirt is going to become very important later. But for now, I really wanted to get this mob grinder done as it was coming to an end on day 1 and I had big plans for day 2. So we just spent a while taking on the mob grinder, doing as much work as we could, getting cobblestone a lot, and the progress was very slow. One of the more annoying parts of all of this was collecting all of the wood for the trapdoors and buttons, and the fact that I built the farm wrong and that the platform was 1 block too low. All that really meant was I had to collect a lot more cobblestone than I had initially intended, which made me slightly panic as the day was coming to an end and I wanted to finish it before the end of day 1. But it was getting quite late, so I put everything I had into this farm and I was doing the roof, which made me think I was finished, but after AFKing a while I realised that nothing spawned, except at night time, which gave me an idea, and yes. So the problem is that the slabs aren't making it dark enough for the room. So I have to build a complete another layer on top so that the mob grinder is dark enough to work during the day. But once I did that, that meant that the mob grinder was done, and that is the end of day 1. So day 2 begins, and I want to explore some more of the islands. So we head to the new islands and we bridge over with just enough blocks. In the chest we get cocoa beans, which to us is absolutely useless, but there's also bamboo here, which gives me an idea. Since 1.20, bamboo has been able to turn into bamboo wood, which we would be able to use to get things like sticks, chests, maybe even building, saving us a lot of wood in the future. So I decided to take some of the bamboo and turn it into a farm. But for now we headed back home as we had some progress to make. Like collecting a bunch of cobblestone, which was made a lot easier with the new diamond pick that we have. Then I spent some time mapping out a little area to build the bamboo farm. It didn't need to be that big, as bamboo was one of the fastest growing plants in Minecraft, and that night I had practically finished the farm. So I wanted to make sure that all of the islands were explored before I made any serious progress, so I headed back to the Nether and I headed to the last available SkyBlock island, which pretty much had nothing, but I made sure to collect all of the dirt while I was there, giving us 2.5 stacks to head home with, which we used to build some farms that are desperately needed. Not so much this berry farm, but a proper wheat farm, as the only food we have right now is apples from trees and fishes from fishing. And I want to fix that problem, but for now this farm will be good for wheat and bread. So that bamboo farm that I built, it is useless. So it turns out that this SkyBlock map isn't updated. Kind of. It's hard to explain, but I will in a bit. But pretty much this world is in the new version, but it also isn't. Just for now, no, this is how I end up abusing the iron and getting infinite of it. But for now, that means we can't have bamboo wood, which is a shame. On the subject of glitching things, in normal SkyBlock, you can't have an enchantment table. Well, you can, but you can't have lapis, which is essential for enchanting. But if I want to do some of the crazy projects I have planned, I'm going to need some enchanted tools. So I thought of a way around this. But for now, we got the stuff to make the actual enchantment table. In the future, we're going to get lapis though, so don't worry about that. Okay, so we have a zombie villager. I'm kind of an idiot and forgot to record actually getting him, but here's me finding a couple of others so that you know it's legit. Anyway, like I said in day 1, we can't get potions in SkyBlock, but with the new mob grinder, we can get witches. And witches just so happen to be able to throw potions. They have a few potions that they can throw, one of which happens to be weakness. When a witch throws a potion at a player, if it hits another mob, it also affects the other mob. So I plan on getting a witch and a zombie villager close enough together that when she throws a weakness potion at me, it affects the zombie villager. And eventually we had a witch in the mob grinder. However, getting her down was a little bit more difficult than I intended, but once she was down, she straight away started attacking me and eventually killing me, which caused me to lose some of my stuff. So in order for this to work, the villager and the witch need to be close enough that the witch can hit him. But if they're too close and the villager hits the witch, she will only target him and will never throw weakness potions. Now at the time I didn't realise this, but you also have to be under 4 hearts and not poisoned for the witch to throw the weakness potion. And even then it's only 25% chance. I thought they weren't close enough, so I moved them closer and then the villager hit the witch, which means I had to restart by killing the witch. Now it must have taken like half an hour, but eventually I spotted one in the distance. So we lured her over and placed her next to the villager, trying again. I died a couple of times, but eventually she did throw a weakness potion. That didn't hit the villager, so I had to keep going. That just what? Oh my god. So we had a few villagers and I needed a place that I could breed them so that I could get unlimited. But first I grabbed a few items that I had that I knew would sell in the shop, but I wasn't 100% sure what items I could get out of it. So I headed to the Nether and I died before I even rendered in. I love Bedrock Minecraft. Sorry, make that another 2 more times I died before I finally got into the nether. So the item we could get was bamboo, but as we've already established, bamboo is kind of useless to us. But while we was here, we grabbed some gold and diamonds, as I needed the gold for a second golden apple to cure another villager. But we needed a place for the villagers to actually go, so I started building and finished probably the ugliest wooden box in Minecraft, but it worked for now, and I made some beds and some workstations ready for the second villager. So we moved the first villager back into the new house where he will spend the rest of his life. We turned him into a librarian, and I went with this trade as it was the best one I knew for making infinite emeralds, which we're going to need a lot of because most of the villagers will not be cured, so their trade prices will be higher. And also with this trade I can get bookshelves for the enchantment table or books to trade with. So I prepared to get the second villager, and after waiting a while I got a zombie villager in the mob grinder and just needed a witch, which eventually spawned on top of the mob grinder, and I got her close to the villager. So with just these 2 villagers, I could breed them and get access to as many villagers as I want, giving me all of these items whenever I need it. I can get lapis for enchanting items, which isn't supposed to be possible. I can get building blocks that I'm not supposed to have. And with just these 3 villagers, I can get fully maxed out enchanted diamond gear. These 2 villagers helped me completely break this game, giving me access to so many more things to do. So let's begin. Now I had access to lapis through a cleric villager, but to get one of those I needed a brewing stand, so I headed to the nether, made some blaze rods and turned our second villager into a cleric, where I could buy lapis, but also redstone. This was huge as this was our only way at all to get any form of redstone, which gives me an idea for a farm to get infinite gold. But he also bought rotten flesh, so I sold some of that to him, leveling him up to get lapis, which was amazing. So we threw them some bread so that they'd start breeding, and I built a little area where I could put an enchantment table, and because we already traded for bookshelves, we have enough to make it level 30, so all we needed was the XP. Luckily, villagers give you a decent amount of XP just by trading with them. So while I waited for the children villagers to grow up, I spent some time adding potatoes to the already existing wheat farm, as I would rather use potatoes to breed the villagers than bread. I also tamed a cat as I didn't want a creeper blowing up all my stuff, so yeah. I don't have a name for him though, so you guys should give him one in the comments. So if I'm going to want more villagers, I'm going to need more beds. So I headed to one of the new islands because I knew there was an iron ore there. And then, using the one I already had at home, I made a pair of shears and started farming my sheep for wool to make more beds. To get armor villagers, I need a blast furnace, and to get tool villagers, I need a smithing table, both which require a lot of iron, something I do not have a lot of yet. The only way to get iron right now is to trade with it, which means I'm going to need a lot of cows, which means I'm going to need a lot of leather, which means I'm going to need a cow spawner, which collectively takes 4 stacks of charcoal, 10 emeralds, and 30 seeds. So to end day 2, I spent the final hour collecting seeds, getting ready for day 3, and you should watch because day 3 is a big one. So day 3 starts with fighting an enderman and nearly dying to it, but it also starts with baby villagers, as today is the day we massively expand our villager trading hall, and it is also the day where we find the biggest game-breaking glitch in this entire world. But we start off the day with mining down a jungle tree, just so that we can have the logs in the future if we need it, but mainly to pass the time for our villagers to grow. And the first thing we do is get a weaponsmith, as this villager can help us get diamond sword and diamond axes in the future, but that's going to be a while as it will require a lot of trading, as this villager has not been cured, so his trades are higher priced. But I keep on trading with the villagers as I want to get to level 30 to enchant my diamond axe, which gives me sharpness 4. Anyway, villagers can only trade a certain amount every day, so to pass the time, I mined down some trees to get 4 stacks of logs, which is enough to get 20 diamonds, which is a good start on the cow spawner. I spend a lot of time trading with villagers as I need a lot of emeralds to start leveling up the armorers, toolsmiths and weaponsmith villagers, and also a good chunk of XP. However, we've come to a bit of a roadblock, as to trade with this villager we need 16 emeralds per sword. However, that doesn't level up the progress anywhere near as much as the iron does, but right now iron is kind of expensive. So to get things really going, I need to get started on this cow spawner. But after trading a while with the villagers, we've reached level 30 again, and looking at the enchants, I decided to go with the sword enchant, as I thought fortune 3 on SkyBlock would be kinda useless. And oh boy, how wrong I was. But for now, this enchant was really good. We got sharpness 4 and fire aspect 2, which means we can cook our food when we actually have the cow spawners, which is what we start working on next. So we grab the charcoal, we grab the emeralds, we head over to the nether, and we buy the spawner. But I forgot the seeds, so I went back, grabbed them, went back again, and bought the cow eggs. This is good as it gives us a way of earning iron, a very small amount and very slowly, but for now it will do. So we set up a little area where we can place the spawners and start farming the cows. Also, I'm not showing this, but in the background of doing all of this, I'm trading with villagers every chance I get. I'm not showing it because it's very repetitive and nothing amazing has happened yet. Any significant trades I will show you, but stuff like this I'm just going to keep to myself and it will happen in the background. Anyway, with the spare diamonds I got from getting the spawner, I put it into a pickaxe and enchanted it to get efficiency 4. Also, in my chest I had 30 leather. I don't know where I got this from, as I didn't get it from farming cows because I haven't done that yet. But it was in my chest, so I used it to go to the nether and buy my first set of iron. This is a big step, as iron is very useful for making things like smithing tables. Smithing tables are good for getting tool villages, where we can get diamond axes, diamond shovels, diamond hoes, all of the enchanted tools we need. So the priority for now is leveling up all of our villages so that we could get the diamond versions of everything. But without a lot of iron, that's going to be difficult. So I don't really know why, but I decided to disenchant my sword, and when I re-enchanted it, I got looting 2, which is fine, but it's not fire aspect 2. I should have just made a new one and enchanted then combined, but I'm an idiot. So I decided to move my smelting hub into the nether. The process behind this was that I could have easy access to lava, so I could use that as a fuel source as opposed to using coal, which was a lot more difficult to get. With a new smelting system, I got some charcoal and I traded for even more diamonds, which gave me enough for a second spawner. Using the second cow egg that I bought earlier, I was able to place a second spawner with cows so I could farm them even more efficiently. Plus the fact that we have looting 2 now, which gives us 2 more leather per cow, it's time to farm. So we farmed for a couple of hours and in total we got about 6 stacks of leather. 1 stack can get us 5 iron, so we got nearly a stack of iron, which we used to upgrade our villagers to unlock a diamond shovel and have access to a diamond axe. But we had some iron left over, so I decided to invest into a blast furnace, which will allow us to make an armourer, who when leveled up enough can get us diamond armour. But he will also require some iron to level up, so we're probably going to have to farm some more leather in the future. Wait, this isn't leather. So we needed to mine down some logs, as I was seriously considering buying diamonds to trade with, as this stuff was getting super expensive now and it was barely leveling the villagers up, whereas the diamonds done it quite a bit. So back to mining trees we go, and with the ones we mined before and the ones we got now, we've got 5.5 stacks of logs, which we put into the furnace to smelt, then went back to the overworld so that the chunks were unloaded. I'm going to be honest, that's not my smartest idea. We went back to the nether to actually AFK, which gave us enough charcoal for 25 diamonds. I left 20 diamonds in the nether, just for future where I can grab them and buy a spawner, and with the remaining 5 diamonds, I used them to fully upgrade this final villager, giving us access to diamond axes and diamond swords. But if we're going to want to upgrade more villagers, we're going to need more iron, so we need more cow generators. So I got some seeds, headed back to the nether, and bought another generator, and some more cow spawners. And we farmed for a bit, getting just enough leather for another 50 iron, which we use to make an anvil, because an anvil is very important if we want to actually have maxed out gear. With the remainder of the iron, we finally leveled up one of the toolsmith villages, giving us a diamond pickaxe, which means we now have access to all of the diamond tools. I was level 30, so I decided to enchant my second diamond sword, which I just bought, which gave me looting 2, which means I could make this sword for farming cows. But before we farm cows, we're going to need to farm some trees, as I need more diamonds. So we head to the nether with a stack of logs, smelt them, and then we use our new diamonds to level up this villager, unlocking unlimited diamond pickaxes. And with the last of our iron, we make another armor villager and level them up as much as we can, Now these armor villagers kind of require a bit of luck, as we don't want them to have the exact same 2 pieces of armor as the other villager. But if we get 1 and 1, that means we're going to need a 3rd armor villager, so fingers crossed we get it first try. But if we want to level up any of our villagers, we're going to need more iron, so I get 3 stacks worth and a ridiculous amount of beef. It is so painful farming for so much time to get as little iron as possible, just for it to all go just like that. But we leveled up the villager and we can see our first piece of diamond armor. So we wait till the next morning so that we can trade with the villagers again, get as much emeralds as possible, and we buy our first piece of diamond armor in all of SkyBlock. Little bit of a side quest, but I'd made this plot of land earlier so that grass could spread and I could bone meal it to get flowers, which I used to make this banner, which I want to put on a shield. By the way, can you guess what country I'm from? Anyway, I tried to put it on the shield, but it just does not work, so I guess it's not in this version of SkyBlock. I also used the anvil from earlier to make this bow, and with this new crafted shield and this overpowered bow, we head to the Nether. So in SkyBlock, you can't really get anything from the Nether because it's completely empty, but in this version of SkyBlock, there's a massive wall surrounding spawn, so I wanted to see if I could build to the wall and break through it somehow. On my way to the closest wall, I came across this island which was hidden beneath and behind the Nether spawn, so I used a hay bale to clutch and break my fall. And we got some okay gear. A golden apple is pretty good in case we need another armor villager, because I really cannot be asked to go through all of those expensive trades again. Which is another good reason to break out of the Nether. See, if we could get to the normal Nether, we could have unlimited gold, as well as a lot of other resources. And I knew there was other Nether out there, because you could see through the glass and see animals spawning. However, we made it to the wall and we couldn't break through, but I still have another plan. It's just going to take a lot of setting up to do. So here is my plan. Everyone knows when you move 1 block in the Nether, you move 8 blocks in the overworld, and a lot of people use this to build tunnels and highways in the Nether to get places faster in the overworld. But I want to use this the other way around. My plan is to build a bridge so long and so far in the overworld, when we go through to the Nether side, it'll spawn us on the other side of the wall. The only problem is this, if we want to do this, the bridge is going to need to be 2,000 blocks long, which means I'm going to need to mine, then place 2,000 blocks in the overworld. Wait a minute, how did I get potions? So, it turns out that wandering villagers can trade brown mushrooms, which is insane because weakness potions happen to be the only potions you don't need nether wart to make, which means brown mushrooms were the only resource we was missing to make unlimited weakness potions. This is insane. This means we no longer need witches to cure zombie villagers, which makes our method of getting cured zombie villagers like 100 times quicker. So we use our final golden apple, which we found in that secret island, to cure another villager. And I tried to transport him into the new house. I turned my back for 1 second, and he was absolutely gone from this realm of existence. So I'm pretty sure he fell into the void, I just don't really know how it happened. Which means the next plan is to see if we can break out of the void, because we really need gold. But before we do that, I finally leveled up this armorer, and now we have a diamond chest plate. And after grabbing a few more blocks and putting all of my stuff in a chest, I was ready to start bridging. And this is the final amount of blocks that we need to place. Now I thought collecting all of the blocks was going to be the most painful part, but actually placing them took like 3 times the amount of collecting them. I don't know why it took so long to place them. Maybe I was just being really cautious, but all of this you're seeing is on 100 times speed. But after about 40 minutes of placing blocks, I finally made it to the 2000 mark, where I built a platform ready for the portal. I had to head back and grab my stuff and then run back to the platform, as I didn't want to die with anything important, and even that took so long just to walk the platform. But I finally made it and I built another portal. Let's see if this works. This is probably the biggest glitch I have figured out so far. With access to the Nether, this means I can get so many blocks that I could not get before. I could get unlimited gold. I could even potentially make netherite armor. Maybe even get a beacon. This find is insane. I can now have so many villagers as well. I mined as much gold as I could using a silk touch pickaxe so that I could later smelt this and get a full ingot instead of carrots. I even found a bastion where I could get loads of resources and gold blocks. We looted the bastion and we didn't have much of a problem. In the process we ended up getting lots of gold and lots of bone meal, which is good because we can use it to bone meal plants and trade them with villagers. We end up leaving the nether with almost 3 stacks of gold, which now means we can have pretty much unlimited villagers, as we have the gold for golden apples and we now have access to potions. On the subject of villagers, we need more. Why? Well, these guys are taking too long with their expensive trades. So I'm going to kill a child. I'm not actually going to kill a child, I'm just going to let it get mauled to death so I could bring it back to life so that it loves me forever and lowers its trade prices. But first we need a bigger area if we're going to need more villagers. Now I am fully aware this big wooden box with a stone slab of a roof is very ugly, and I will make this whole island look better in a few days. Right now I just want to focus on getting gear and getting established, but trust me when I say this island does end up looking pretty decent for someone who can't build. But the ugly box is done and the baby villager has grown up. So we turn him into an armorer and we lock in his trade. What this means is when he turns into a zombie and we cure him again, his trades will be the exact same, just a lot cheaper. So we wait till nighttime, we grab a zombie, we lure him in, watch him die, but it's okay because he comes straight back to life when we cure him. And we accidentally make our life 1,000,000 times easier. Now I do not know why or how this happened. For some reason when I cured this villager, it cured all of them. So now every single villager we have has cheaper trades. I don't know how or why this happened. So we don't complain, we just trade with the villager to level him up and see what armor we get. And like I said earlier, this is a game of luck, and our luck happens to be 50-50, as we get one of the pieces of armor we don't have, but the other armor is a piece we do have, so we are going to need to get a third villager, which means we need more iron for the blast furnace. We use the level we already had in the chest, and I get some more, which gives us just enough iron. And by this point you guys know the steps on getting in a villager. We get the zombie villager, we trap him, we get the potion, we get the golden apple, and we trade with him to get the final piece of armor. And with a couple more trades, we finally have full diamond armor. I did not think I would get this far in SkyBlock. But we are not finished there, as we still need to completely max out our diamond gear, so we're going to need a lot more villagers. Specifically, librarians. In the librarians' trades, you could get books, and if you break a villager workstation and then replace it, it will re-roll what book you get. Do this enough times, and you can get any book of your choosing. Here we decided to go with Unbreaking 3 as it was essential for our maxed out gear. Another way to get maxed out gear is through trading with villagers to get spare tools, which we can then enchant when we hit level 30, and then we can combine them in an anvil. But this way is a lot more difficult and it takes a lot longer as it requires level 30 almost every time. So we need more levels. Good thing we have a lot of quartz that we got from the nether. It only got us 21 levels and then I ended up getting distracted. I didn't want my base to be all bridges like most SkyBlock bases are, so I decided to fill in all the holes and turn the base into a massive platform, but then I got distracted again by a zombie villager, who like second try gave us mending, which is probably single-handedly the most overpowered enchantment you can get on anything, so this was kind of insane. And we got the third villager, who for some reason did not want to give us the enchanting book we needed. All of this is on 100 times speed, but it still took forever. Now we need protection 4 as we already have Unbreaking 3 and mending, and the rest of the tools enchants we can get through enchanting tables. But this took forever. I think in total it took about an hour, which is really unfortunate because that is time we do not have. But eventually we finally got the protection 4 book, which means now we can fully max out our armor. But our anvil broke, so we're going to need more iron, which we do pretty quickly, and with 34 levels we managed to fully enchant half our armor and almost enchant the other half. But like I said, villagers are a great way of XP, so we trade with them, buy some experience bottles, and finish our helmet. And with killing some mobs left in the mob grinder, as we were nearly close enough anyway, we got the rest of the XP required to finish all of our armor. So now we are fully maxed out diamond armor. Do you remember that sand we collected on day 1? Well, I'm now finally using it because the upgraded version of diamond is netherite, and now that we have access to the actual nether, that is theoretically possible. So using the sand that we collected on day 1 and then gunpowder in our mob grinder, I made some TNT. Not a lot, but it's enough for a good start. So I blow up the nether and collect as much ancient debris and quartz as I can, as I want to use quartz in the base design that I have planned. But we only had about 20 TNT, so the trip was very short-lived and we didn't get that much ancient debris, which means we're probably going to have to build a wool farm. But that's going to have to be day 4, because that is the end of day 3. So day 4 is pretty short, but probably the most important day in the challenge. We started off by collecting some iron. How useless.
I can't help it, you're so cute when you laugh.
Which gave us enough for 10 iron. But I thought while I was in the area, I could go collect the iron ores that we missed with my Silk Touch pickaxe, which gave us 4 more iron, and when I got home I decided to fortune free it. But then this happened. Well, shit. So on day 1, when I said that this skyblock was in the new and old versions of the game, this is what I meant. When you mine the iron ore, you get the fortune free effect, like the new version of Minecraft. However, it drops the iron ore again, like the old version of Minecraft, which means I can continuously keep placing and breaking the iron for infinite ore. I heavily debated banning using this because I didn't want to make the challenge too easy and I wasn't sure if this was kind of pushing the line. So I actually called my brother to see what he thinks, and this was his genuine response. What? But after speaking to him about it for a bit, he said that he feels like it fits in with the challenge. So if you think this glitch is pushing it too far, you should go moan at him, but that now means we have infinite iron for the rest of the skyblock world. So I start to mine some iron, as I have an idea that I needed a lot of iron for in the first place, but didn't have. And that idea is a gold farm. But before we build a gold farm, we're going to need to build a sheep farm, which I was planning on doing before, but now that we have plenty of iron, I could build it on a much larger scale. So I make that my next priority, by clearing out the bamboo farm that I never used, as it would make the perfect space to put a sheep farm. And I already had all of the materials. I had redstone and glass from trading with villagers, I had quartz from breaking out of the nether, and I had plenty of iron from the infinite iron glitch. This was a very glitch heavy farm, and in fact, I was using it to get glitched netherite. Now the farm itself was pretty simple, so we got that done in no time at all, and after that there was only a few steps left, like building this platform beneath to make a collection system, and we used this very simple but very iron expensive design. And once that was done, it was just a case of getting all of the sheep in, and with the final one, the farm was operational. So we box ourselves up to AFK for a bit, and when we come back to this jump scare. So it turns out we didn't like the platform and a couple of creepers spawned, but we deal with them quickly and we check the results of the AFKing, which in total is about 4 stacks of wool. But now that we've finished the wool farm, I want to build the next farm, which is a gold farm. And I'm going to be building this from memory, so it's going to be quite bad, but it'll be quite cheap. But while getting some of the obsidian for the farm, as we need a lot, this happened. Well, that was just too close for comfort. So I have everything ready for the gold farm except the obsidian, but how am I going to get obsidian in a world where there just isn't really any? Well, it involves a lot of dying. You see, if I break my portal and then put the obsidian in a chest, chuck myself into the lava and go back through to the nether, it will generate a whole new portal, so I can just rinse and repeat until I have a stack and a half of obsidian, which I now have, so we can focus on building this gold farm, which is honestly just quite an eyesore, but I will focus on fixing the base in the next 2 days. For now, we'll just focus on production, and that's all this farm is really good for, plus XP. But the farm is now finished. So with this hopper leading into this chest, I can use that as a collection system, turn on the farm, and just farm endless pigmen. So we farmed for a bit getting some XP, and I nearly got to level 30 when some baby piglins phased through the blocks, knocking me straight into the void, making me lose all of my levels and all of my maxed out enchanted gear. Which wasn't a massive problem, as I could buy all of it back from villagers, but actually putting the enchantments back onto the armor was a grindy process, as it required a lot of XP. So I had to use the gold farm again, but this time I made sure to kill them as quickly as possible so that they couldn't overcrowd and glitch through. I had also built up a stockpile of quartz which I used to push me over level 30. This got me to a stage I was comfortable with, maxed out enchanted armor and good enough diamond tools. But I don't want my gear to stay diamond, so I collected all of the wool I had as well as some wood, and I headed to the nether to start some bed bombing. For those of you who don't know, bed bombing is a very good tactic for mining netherite. It's a pretty common fact that when you try to sleep in a bed in the nether, it blows up. But you can use this to mine for netherite, as it's a good way to clear some area and look for ancient debris. So some bed bombing later, I had collected a total of 35 ancient debris, which when combined with our gold gave us 9 netherite ingots. Also, while I was there, I decided to collect some gravel, as I knew a little trick. If you used 2 dirt and 2 gravel, you could make 4 coarse dirt, which you then can turn into a pathway block, then mine, giving you 4 dirt back, meaning for every 2 gravel we collect, we can get 2 dirt. So now we never have to worry about dirt again. Anyway, using the 9 netherite ingots we had, we fully maxed out our armor. We didn't do our sword, as I didn't want to upgrade it until it was fully maxed out enchanted, but for now we have maxed netherite enchanted gear, as well as some tools. All in survival skyblock. This is kind of insane. I did need to finish my sword though, so I decided to mine some quartz, as I had a lot more from the bed bombing, as I made sure to pick up any that I found. Which got me to level 30, and I ended up getting these enchants, so I combined the swords and I got this, which was perfect. But I still needed more, so I mined every single quartz that I had, but I still needed more to get to level 30, but once I did, I got this, which is good, but not good enough. So another level 30 later, and finally I had a sharpness 5 sword, which I could put some netherite on. So to end day 4, I started the plans for day 5, which was to completely transform my whole base into quartz bricks. I know that's ambitious, but the idea was to build the base out of a block that you can't normally get in skyblock so that it stands out. But that'll have to be tomorrow, as that is the end of day 4. So the first thing we do on day 5 is make a stack of golden carrots, because we can. And the second thing we do is a bunch of clearing, as I want to make the island look a lot nicer. This includes replacing everything with quartz and surrounding the island in walls. So what I'm doing right now is clearing out anything I don't need so that the island can be as symmetrical as possible. Like I said before, I'm replacing everything with quartz, but I decided to go with quartz bricks, as I thought it looked a lot nicer. Now this is true, but it also makes my life twice as hard, as you can't have quartz brick slabs. This really seems like an oversight, Mojang. So I'm going to need to collect twice the amount of quartz. Now I used every single quartz that I had collected throughout this whole challenge, and it barely done anything on the island. So we're going to have to collect a lot more. So back to the nether we go. By the way, I want you to take note of the fact that I am level 20. Now obviously we are here for quartz, but I found a nether fortress, so obviously I got distracted. We had 3 skulls. This meant that whenever we want, we can now fight the Wither and get a beacon in Skyblock. But for now, we're going to ignore that, as I still needed a lot of quartz for the base. And honestly, I'm just going to skip through all of the footage of me getting it, because I was mining for like 2 hours and I do not know how to make that footage entertaining. By the end of it, we had 9 stacks of quartz blocks and had gained nearly 30 levels just from mining quartz. And now comes the painstaking process of placing all of these quartz blocks, as we need to also transform all of the structures, except the gold farm, because that would just take too long, so instead I'm going to do blackstone. But for now we're going to ignore that, as I have run out of quartz, which means we're going to need to collect more. And while we're there, we're going to collect both of the nether woods, as I'm going to use it for the wall design and the base design respectively. But instead of showing you that footage, I'm just going to, as it's just a bunch of grinding and nothing notable really happens. This day has been really short for you guys, but for me it has been about 6 hours so far. It is just a bunch of collecting quartz and building. And although it's taking forever for me, the progress is good and the base is coming together. And we probably only have to collect quartz one more time, which for you guys is under 30 seconds, but for me is around 2 to 3 hours. I also made sure to grab some blackstone, as I'm going to use it to transform the gold farm. Not the mob grinder though, that's going to have a more tragic fate. And by the end of it, we had about 9 stacks of each, which was enough to completely finish the island. All we had left was the tree farm, more specifically the top layer, and that got done pretty easily, which left us with the nether portal island, which was really small, so we finished that in no time. Don't worry, these stairs do become quartz stairs really quickly. So I started work on my wall design, and as you can see, I am not a builder, so I just stole this design off the internet. And I did something that I've been putting off for a while, which was completely tore down the mob grinder. It was big, ugly, and absolutely useless, so I wasn't going to put in the time and effort to turn it into blackstone. And honestly, everything looks kinda cleaner without it anyway. And with the last few hours of the day, I started laying the plans for my house, where I'm going to move everything, including my resources and villagers, so that I can finally destroy the box that I put them in. But that is everything for day 5. I know it was a short day for you guys, but it was very long for me. We made a lot of progress on the island, and it is looking really good now. But tomorrow it is going to look insane, which we are going to jump straight into, as we are more or less doing the same thing. So the platform is completely done, but we still need to do the house and the walls, which means we are back in the Nether, collecting things like blackstone, wood and quartz, and when we make it home we have an inventory full of all 3. Now I suck at building, but I'm going to try my best. What this means is I'm going to do plenty of procrastinating, as I made the layout pretty bloody small, which isn't helping me with thinking of base designs. I should have just made the platform bigger, it would have saved me so much more trouble. On the other hand, however, trying to build in such a small area was kind of a fun challenge. I feel like I made a massive mistake dedicating days to just building. What I should have done was have building in between other projects on other days, because I'm really struggling to put this into a video and editing it nicely for you guys. But after a quick time lapse, this is it. It's a bit small, but I like it. So now we've just got to spend half an hour moving everything into the new base. That's not a joke, by the way, this took half an hour. I also labeled everything, so now everything is nicely organized and we shouldn't have to worry about clutter and junk ever again. But now the house is done and the island is done, so what more is there to do? Well, we've got to move all of our villagers. The reason I built a basement for this place is so that I can move all of my villagers into a nice looking area so I could finally destroy this wooden box. But first I've actually got to move them, and villagers are notoriously annoying as hell. So I built this little tunnel so they had absolutely nowhere else to go. I set up the beds and stations in the basement so that they would all auto lock onto it and move there by themselves. But they were all in the basement, which meant I can finally destroy everything, which felt so good and looked so much better. And now came the painstaking process of building the walls. What do I mean by that? Because I actually quite enjoyed building these walls, as I really felt like it was making the base come together. What I mean when I say painstaking is to edit, because this took hours of doing the exact same thing over and over again. It's okay though, because we get to have a break by mining quartz. A lot of quartz. We mined for about 40 minutes, which gave me enough resources to do some more walls, so here's a time lapse of me doing that. But then we came to the carrot farm, which I'm going to destroy. Don't get me wrong, this has been very useful for me, but I don't really know how to build walls around this, and it's just so much easier to destroy it, and it's just not that useful. So I tear it down, and there's finally room for some walls. And to my very OCD girlfriend, this is not symmetrical, so do not pay attention to these walls. So the walls are done, but the base isn't lit up perfectly. So all we've got to do is add these lights, and mobs will never be able to spawn on our island ever again. Which leaves only one more thing until the base is completely finished, and that is to completely transform the gold farm into blackstone, because I am not leaving it as cobblestone. But as you can tell by that 100 times speed lap, that really didn't take long at all. Which means the base is now completely done. We have a house, the platform is quartz, it's all lit up, and we have a wall surrounding it. Which means it's time to move on to day 7. The final day, and I think it's time to get a beacon, but not just any beacon, one that most players can't even get in their regular world. So it is the final day and I want to make a diamond beacon, but how are we going to do that? Well, as we've already established, the shop trades a stack of charcoal for 5 diamonds. And to get a full beacon we need 1,476 diamonds, which divided by 5 means 295 stacks of charcoal, which means we're going to need to mine 295 stacks of logs, then smelt it, and then trade it. That is just under 6 double chests full of logs, which is why you are seeing this insane 1,000 times speed lap. Collecting every single log took close to 10 hours, and there is no way I can edit that down for you guys, so I've had to do this ridiculously fast time lapse. And 10 hours of mining logs is still not the end of making the beacon. But now we've got to smelt all of these logs, so I headed to the Nether and I built a very long furnace array. And using a fire resistance potion, I jumped into the lava at the bottom of the lake to build a platform. My thinking was I could build a ladder and have easy access to unlimited lava so that I wouldn't have to waste time getting more logs for coal or any other fuel source. And now we just need to take all of these logs to the nether. And while this insane time-lapse plays, I want to ask you guys to subscribe, because this challenge was insane and so much fun and went so well to plan, but it took so long and the editing took so long, and it only takes a second to subscribe. So I would really appreciate it, but also you don't have to, because if you don't like the video, you don't like the video. And after all of the insane work I've just got to, I swear, just moving everything and waiting for it all to smelt might have taken longer than actually getting the logs itself. But they're all smelted, and I would like to present to you the nicest time lapse of my entire life. Almost a full inventory of diamonds, which is enough for a full diamond beacon. This doesn't even look like SkyBlock anymore. But we actually still need to kill the wither, as we need the beacon itself. And I'm going to be honest with you, this is a very cool ending for the video, but kind of anticlimactic for me, because I've killed the wither 1,000 times, it wasn't hard. I decided to fight him in the nether, as I thought fighting him in the overworld was kind of a death sentence. So I picked out a relatively flat area, spawned him, and killed him pretty easily. And that was it. The end of the 7-day challenge, and it couldn't have gone better to plan. The last 3 days were really grindy, so quite short in video form, and I apologise for that, but I didn't think you guys would be interested in a lot of grinding. But that is it. That is 7 days in SkyBlock, and we achieved so much. So if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe, and if you want to see other challenges like this, or maybe a part 2, then you should let me know in the comments. But otherwise, that has been 7 days, and I will see you in the next one.